Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. Now, usually I don't post a video on Mondays. As you know, Monday is my mentoring day, but I've had to just take a break between clients today to get this across to you, because what has happened over the weekend is just crazy in my mind economically. So we're going to be talking about Russia, what's happening in Russia, and some of the effects elsewhere. So let's get straight into it then. Russia has announced today an increase in their interest rates. Why is this such a big deal? Because a lot of economists, you'll hear this all the time, that countries can't handle higher interest rates. Well, Russia's just gone from 9.5 to 20%. Now, this is huge, and I think this is going to prove as a really good test case for the West, for other countries to see how Russia handles this. Because you may think, oh, well, maybe they don't have high inflation, maybe, there's something else going on here. Well, let me just tell you, Russia's inflation rate for the last month that we have data for was 8.7%. The USA currently has similar, 7.5% was the last reading. I think it's probably going to be 8%, 8.2% on the next reading that comes out. So very similar situation with inflation, whereas Russia's now put rates to 20%. The US has got their rates extremely low, near zero. And of course, they're completely different economies. Russia's debt to GDP ratio is only around 12, I think it's 12.2% as of today, whereas the USA is over 100%. So very different economies. But in a way, I think this could actually strengthen Russia against this huge backdrop of a weakening economy. And let me get into that, because this is some crazy numbers. So over the last few days, Russia, a lot of the financial institutions have been banned from the SWIFT system. You've probably heard this on the news. What does this mean? Well, actually, SWIFT is used by 11,000 banks and financial institutions around the world. So being cut off from that, you are cut off from the world of finance, in effect. So this is huge, absolutely huge for Russia. Additionally, the ECB, so the European Central Bank, again, I'm very surprised that they've done this, but they've moved to freeze the Russian central bank's assets. Now, this is usually, not something that's ever done, because the central banks and the assets are considered sort of, don't touch, don't go there. Now, who is this going to affect the most? Is it going to affect Putin or some of these politicians? No, this is going to affect the Russian people via a potential inflationary spiral. Now, of course, Russia's moved towards the 20% interest rate rise straight away, which should, hopefully stop them going into a hyperinflationary spiral. However, what's Russia also just moved to do, and again, by the time this video comes out, we'll have more information, because the Russian central bank is about to do an announcement today. But what we do know is that they have just announced 733 billion rubles of extra liquidity. So this, the currency's changing all the time, but as of recording, this is about 8.8 billion US dollars equivalent. A couple of other really key points then. So the US, Europe, and Canada keeps coming up a lot at the moment, pledged on Saturday to prevent the Bank of Russia from deploying its $630 billion stockpile of international reserves. Now, this is very, very risky move for these countries to make against Russia, because we all know how Russia responds to such things. They will see this as an act of aggression. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they then sort of increase the I think we've already seen an increase in the readiness state of their military, but I think this is just going to push them further down that line. Of course, the other thing it will do is it will stop Russia from being able to defend its ruble in international currency markets. So you're going to see, no doubt, a lot of shilling going on now from some of the big guys that you'll know who will be betting against the currency. So this move actually affects, let's have a look, 40% of Russia's reserves that are held in North America and Europe. So this is huge, because if you think all of this time what Russia's been doing, taking their gas and their energy and a lot of the things that they're exporting and selling, they're taking these things and they're converting them into some form of treasuries or some sort of securities in other nations like the West, USA, Canada. So for now, you've got to think all that work they did in the exports of their natural resources, and now to them, this is how I think Putin's going to see it. He's going to see it that the US, the West, Canada, Europe are stealing all of that, because he will say, well, we acted in good faith selling you these resources, and we got securities in exchange, and now you've frozen, or he will see it as stolen that. So this is the thing that isn't being talked about, but this is how I think Putin's going to see it. Of course, there's a lot of other things I'd like to talk about, such as the alliances and China and all the Stan countries I talk about a lot. So Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and of course we've got Georgia and all the other countries. But I'll probably get into that on another video as to how all of these aggressive moves from both sides of the fence here might pull in other countries. But unfortunately, that's all I've got time for today. So I hope this really, really quick update just helped to keep you informed of what is actually happening right now between the Western powers and Russia.